Hey everyone, welcome to another Patreon topic video for Kwentn. Not only is this a Patreon topic video, but it is also the first video in a video series I am creating called the Arcade Stick Guide. So the idea of this video series is just for me to be able to explore and explain and offer guidance and advice for a subject I have a deep passion for, which is arcade sticks. And what's funny is if you haven't checked out my early material of this channel, a lot of my earlier material is about my love of arcade sticks, and I actually have an entire podcast episode dedicated to them, basically, if you want to check that out. I'll link it in the video, but anyway, I thought this would be a great opportunity to bring that back into the channel because, funnily enough, my most popular video of all time by far is my arcade stick technique video, which I am proud of because I think that's really important information. And so, yeah, I want to keep bringing on the heat, especially because I think having a long time experience with arcade sticks to the point where I've basically owned almost every part, every component of arcade sticks ever made that I can get my hands on. Of course, maybe not some of the most obscure things, but basically all the commercial stuff I've gotten my hands on. And yeah, I feel like I'm kind of a library of arcade stick information. And early on in my days in the Shmup scene, I was actually a little bit more well known for helping hook people up with arcade sticks, or how to mod them, how to, find them, all those types of things. And so I kind of want to bring that forward with this video series. But I think the first place we need to begin is actually at the very start, because buying arcade sticks, of course, isn't hard. It's not like buying a car. They're not super expensive or anything like that. But it is hard because if you're not super familiar with all the different components of the hardware or whatever, all the pieces, what you're looking for, what each thing can offer you, you can kind of get lost in a sea of marketing and information. And there are certain things I want to kind of warn people about, warn people away from. So I think square one, buying an affordable quality arcade stick is actually a bit more of an art than it sounds like, but I have dialed this in because I have a bit of a habit of buying arcade sticks. I have had so many I can't count them, and then I mod them and destroy them and throw them away in many cases. The best ones I save. But anyway, I thought it'd be fun just to begin this video by showing off my own arcade stick, or one of my own arcade sticks. Anyway, the one I play with 90% of the time. I call it the Franken stick. This is like show and tell in grade school. You'll notice this clear button here, this invisible button. It's actually green, but the green screen makes it a magical invisible button. That's kind of a cool idea, actually, to like green screen the buttons on the hand cam. But anyway, so that's actually a real button, it's just green. So I call this the Franken stick because no part of this stick is stock whatsoever other than the box. So how I came across this stick is actually kind of funny, where my friend bought it on a whim. We went to a video game shop. He bought it on a whim. He's like, this is sick. It's actually for the Xbox One, and he didn't own an Xbox One, but he's like, oh, it's no problem. I'll still figure a way to connect it to the PC. But then he kind of got bored of trying to do that, and so he wanted to go return it, and I said, well, I'll take it from you. I'll pay you what you paid him and take it off your hands. And I did, and And so the only remaining part is the box itself. I'll get more into my recommendations of what brands to go with, but as you can tell right off the bat, Hori is a brand that I most highly recommend. And the reason why is they're just super reliable. They're like the, I don't want to get into car politics, right? But maybe like the Honda of arcade sticks, where they're really dependable, really well made. You're not going to go wrong owning one necessarily. And this box in particular I love because I feel like you could take it sledding if you wanted. You could stamp, like my children have stomped on it, thrown it. You could probably beat your enemies to death with it if all else fails. It's solid material. And there's certain brands I'm going to kind of steer you away from just because I've had issues and seen other people have issues with them. But Hori is always my recommended brand, especially, and you'll see why as we continue forward. But anyway, just some cool stuff. I have this modded here to connect to retro consoles with the RJ45. That'll be another video. And then, of course, for people who don't know me, I am pretty much the only Western shmup player who plays on Korean stick. because I have a background in playing Tekken and I love Korean sticks. And so this is the Fanta Taeyong, by far my favorite Korean stick. I own every single one, and I think the Taeyong is the best. I love it. So I play on Korean stick, and then, buttons, whatever. Sanwa buttons. So, oh yeah, and then the internals. The internals are actually more important probably than people realize, but I have a Brooks Universal board in here. It's pretty pricey, but it's the lowest lag board I've ever come across, and it's not only that, it connects to like everything with a USB. So basically anything that's USB it'll connect to. Make sure to update the firmware, but yeah, I always recommend people to get that board because I've lag tested it and it is the most responsive or equal to the most responsive. And especially one that connects to multiple stuff. So let's begin the presentation a little bit here, the production values of this video. First off, right away, do not buy this. This thing has given me more trouble than I can ever explain. But so this is the Mayflash. And I don't dislike Mayflash. I use some of their products, like their SNES converter and their GameCube converter. I think those are solid. But this product is not solid because it has quite a bit of lag. And not only that, it advertised itself as easily moddable, but it is not. The internals inside, because I was helping Moglar, he has one of these, and I was trying to help him put a Famitsu stick in this thing. And the way they have it wired inside is they just solder everything in there. Nothing and it doesn't have like standard Japanese connections. It has like these weird knockoff Chinese connections, and it's a mess. Do not buy this. It's not well made. You can use this money much better, and that's what I'm going to show you in this video. So do not buy this because upgrading it and stuff is just not an option, and it's not well made. No, I don't like this thing at all. Please don't, because then when I try and help you, I rip my hair out trying to make this thing work. So, here is my meta strategy to how do you approach buying an arcade stick. You're getting into them for the first time. The most affordable way to buy a quality arcade stick, by far, hands down, no contest that I've come across, is getting a used one either at a thrift store. I actually got a used one at a thrift store for $10 once. It was a TE2. One of the best arcade sticks I own, and I got it for $10 at a thrift store. Yeah, the lever was broken. I swapped out the lever in 5 seconds, and bam, quality arcade stick. But anyway, yeah, so get a used one off of eBay or used one. Check out your local game shops. See if they have a used one, if they're selling them at fair prices. And I actually recommend... this is the point where there's going to be some branching decisions you need to make. Basically, what platform are you going for with your arcade stick? If you're going for just one specific console, like a PS4, or... The thing is, I don't know if you want to go for a PS4 stick anyway. I'm just kind of saying because the PS5 is going to come out, and they're going to make you upgrade your stick. So I kind of am warning people away from PS4 sticks right now because they're still expensive, but they're going to be outdated very, very quickly. So what I recommend doing is if you're wanting to do a customized stick, where you're going to do basically what I did with the Frankenstick here, and just completely maul all of its internals and put your own custom internals, put all your custom parts, you want to create a customized stick, I definitely recommend looking into the Hori Rap 4s or Rap 3s for the PS3. There's also the 360 ones. Those are excellent as well. Both are great options. The reason why I recommend Hori Raps is because the build quality of the boxes is very high for a really reasonably priced stick here. So I just looked this today. Here you go, $62. So remember the Mayflash POS? That was like... 55, extra $10. Now you're getting a real arcade stick with real Japanese connections, real parts. Yeah, swappable. Yeah, go with this, because I've known people when we talked about in forums, on Discords and forums and stuff, who want to create custom sticks. If you're wanting to create a custom stick to be swag and to be cool, yeah, do whatever you want to do. That's going to be expensive. I've done those before. Like I built one out of wood and stuff. It was expensive. It was pretty cool. I don't have it in here with me, but yeah, those are going to be more expensive. But if you're wanting to build a custom stick in terms of cost, to save costs and kind of customize what you're looking for, have your base be a used PS3 or used 360 stick, because they're modernized. You know, they're not old school like the PS2 sticks, so they're modernized. But they're usually really affordable, and then they have quality Sanwa parts almost all the time. So this has quality Sanwa parts, and like Sanwa, I just always stick with Sanwa buttons. You can swap out other types. There's like Gamer Finger. I've never had a Saimitsu button before, so I can't really review what those are like, or Korean buttons. But I feel like Sanwa buttons are just really solid. You know, you don't go wrong with Sanwa buttons. I don't usually use Sanwa sticks. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. So get one of these, I would say. Again, since if you're going to mod the internals, yeah, just get whatever one you can find, right, for a cheap price, 360, PS3, doesn't matter. If you're not wanting to mod the internals, if you're wanting to only play on a certain platform, like let's say you only want to play on PS5 or Switch, that's where you're going to have to you're going to have to invest either in one of those branded sticks, you know, or you're going to invest in a custom board like the Brooks Universal board, which is going to be more pricey. If you're going to go the custom board route, which I recommend because it connects to way more stuff and is better quality and at a similar price point, these are a great shell to invest in. I know I've done a ton of research into customized shells, you know, like even cheap plexi ones. And the thing is the dollar value is not there. If you go with the cheap plexi ones, the build quality is very suspect, and then you're not getting the buttons, you're not getting the internals, even the wires inside are useful. You can salvage the wires. There's just so much stuff you can salvage out of these PS3 sticks at like the same price as those plexi things. Just get a used PS3 stick. Another thing I want to mention is, so when you're buying used electronics, usually it's kind of scary. But with arcade sticks, unless they, you know, ran it over with a truck, you know, arcade sticks are extremely durable and they're extremely easy to modify and repair. They're very easy to do that with. So even if you order, let's say you order this stick and the lever is janky on it, or maybe it's got weird internals and stuff, all of that can be repaired, all of that can be replaced. So buying used arcade sticks is always my recommendation if you're trying to be affordable, because what's the difference between a new and a used arcade stick? I've never really seen anything other than they look nicer, you know, the aesthetics look a little nicer. But if you're going to play your arcade stick anyway, it's going to look worn and beaten down after a while anyway, so. Okay, so let's talk about the levers, your lever options. Because I almost never use stock levers, especially the Hori stock levers. So Hori has their own, I can't remember, Hayabusa, that's it. They have their own Hayabusa stock levers. I'm not a big fan of those. They're not bad, but they're not great either. They're kind of lesser than the Sanwas. So if you want a Sanwa style lever, I would just recommend getting a Sanwa lever. Again, if you're tight for a budget, just go ahead and get the Hori stick here, or one like it, and then you know, use it. It's still solid, and then when you get a little more money, swap in the Sanwa for $20. They're about $20. So Sanwa, again, so when I start talking about arcade sticks, this is where it can get a little almost political, right? Some people are die-hard fans of certain levers and certain styles, and they'll get very, you know, fired up if you criticize it. But actually, I think the Sanwa sticks are incredibly well made. Great. You know, you can't go wrong with the Sanwa stick, but I do not think they are the gold standard either. I think they are the best consumer sticks, right? The best sort of all-around sticks. It's a good all-around option, but for shmups, I prefer the Saimitsu sticks. And the reason why is the bottom of the stick here. So the Saimitsu sticks, you know, I own tons of Sanwas, tons of Saimitsus. I got levers just all over my house. I'm kind of, you know, an arcade stick fanatic. I always think the build quality of the Saimitsu sticks are better. They just feel more heavy, more solidly made. And the big difference, and the picture doesn't really show it very well, but the big difference is the micro switches on the Saimitsus. So the Saimitsus have these little tongues on the micro switches, these little levers. You can see them right here in the center. My mouse isn't showing on screen, but in the center there, you can see those little tongues. And so those tongues give a really smooth action to when you activate the inputs. Whereas when you look at the Sanwas, you can see the little red nubs in the center there. Those are the micro switches, but they don't have the tongues. They just have the red nubs. I don't know what you'd call it. The red little micro switches in there. So the difference is Sanwas have a very pop sort of feel to them, where they snap. They snap harder than Saimitsus. So I know a lot of people like that. My friend, he loves Sanwas because they have that nice crisp snap to them. And so when you're playing something like Street Fighter, a lot of fighting games, having that crisp snap is nice. However, I would say that overall, a better option, especially for shmups, for micro dodging, and for really, really refined movement, I think the Saimitsus are better because they have a smoother action, and then you put a little bit of a heavier spring on it, and it does still have that snap, but the action is smoother. I feel like you have more precise control on a Saimitsu than you do on a Sanwa. That's me, but that's what I'm going with. Anyway, now I've got to talk about my personal favorite, the Itoki Fanta Taeyang, a Korean stick. So I don't know how many of you I'm going to convert over to Korean stick, because if you play on Japanese stick, and I've done this many times with my friends, and then you have them play on a Korean stick, it's a pretty shocking transition for some people. I remember when I first got my Korean stick, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this stuff, but I kept it in there and kept playing with it, and eventually I ended up really liking it. And over the years, it's been like 5 or 6 years now, I've always kind of swapped back and forth just to check to make sure, but every time I always go back to the Korean stick. And these days I don't swap back and forth anymore. I've just accepted that I am a Korean stick player. And so there are lots of different styles of Korean sticks you can get into. There are the crown levers, and I think they're okay, honestly. And I know some people really like them, but I don't think they're as solid and well made as the Fanta Taeyoungs. I just really like these the best. They just have this weight and feel to them, and the resistance feels perfectly dialed in. You don't have to mod it. I used to mod my Korean sticks pretty heavily to try and give them square gates and things like that, but these days I've just accepted the circle gate. Once you kind of get used to it, it's actually not completely circle. If you look at the bottom of the stick, there's a little bit of a squarishness to the bottom gate there. It's not that perceptible, but you can kind of tell it's not straight up a circle. But yeah, so that's my preferred stick right here. I just wanted to show it on screen. I also play on bat top, not ball top. The thing is on Japanese stick, sorry, my mouse is going crazy. On Japanese stick, like the Sanwas or the Saimitsus, you can swap out the tops. And on Korean stick, you can buy a special part to put a ball top on there if you want. Personally, I like bat tops more. I just, the shape of my hands, the movement of my hands, really there's not a huge difference, honestly. I think people overblow the difference, but I like just the motions on the bat top better than on the ball top. And you can actually still wine grip on a bat top, it just feels a little silly. But if you play with wine grip, basically you're going to go with a ball top, right? So let's talk about the internals now. Oh yeah, and I'm just showing here are... Oh wait, I almost forgot this. So I just came across this today, and this is the Fanta Taeyang with the lowered mount here, or whatever, the lowered gate. I can't remember what the term for it was. But, so for the longest time, the Fanta Taeyang has this gate right here, which means if you want to put it in a Japanese box like I did, you have to get creative with a file, and you have to file the hole wider, and this is metal. It took me like 5 hours or 4 hours of filing to get it wide enough, and it looks like hell. If you have machine tooling, it looks a lot better, but anyway. So, for people who have Japanese mounts, this now exists, so you don't have to file away at your stick box anymore to get it to mount. The thing is, though, is I don't know how well this plays compared to the higher gate thing, higher choker neck thing. I don't know what you call it, but I feel like that does give some kind of extra support and extra feel to the stick, because I do have some crown sticks that are chopped like this, and they feel a little more loosey-goosey, a little less crisp with their movements. But I mean, some people may actually still like that. So I don't own one of these because I just found about it today, so I'll own it probably in a week or two. Yeah, so I don't have a review of whether or not it's comparable to the regular version, but yeah, definitely check that out if you're interested. If you want a Korean stick, I would say give this a try, because it's the best Korean stick, and now it can fit into a Japanese mold. So let's talk about, and the Korean sticks have the same micro switches as Saimitsu sticks, so they share the same style of micro switches. That's why I feel like Korean and Saimitsu are the best for shmups, better than Sanwa, because of these micro switches. They give that nice smooth roll off, and I think secretly Korean sticks are underrated for shmups because you can get some really, really precise micro dodges because of the way the resistance works on it. It's not as snappy as the springs because it has these rubber tensions. I'm just selling you on Korean sticks. That wasn't the point of this video, but anyway. Let's go ahead and talk about arcade stick internals, because again, this is going to inform what you're going to buy. So the internal that I am always going to recommend, and probably always will recommend until I find a better alternative, is the Brooks Universal. So I was actually extremely skeptical about this product for a very, very long time. For most of my arcade stick playing life, I found that any multi-console board is usually laggy as hell, like the Mayflash, because the way they program it to do multi-console, it kind of adds in that extra lag normally. Yeah, every one I've had up to this time. So what I had been doing up to the release of this Brooks Universal is I had been dual modding my arcade sticks. So rather than having some kind of converter thing, I would literally have a board for a PS3 arcade stick and a board for an Xbox 360 arcade stick within the same box, and then I would swap them back and forth. It was a pain in the butt, but you know, I did that to reduce input lag, right? So with this, that is no longer necessary, because not only does this thing connect to all the USB consoles that I know of and have updatable firmware, but it does not have any additional lag. I tested this against another arcade stick that has been shown to be basically one of the most responsive ones, and I actually tested it against my old favorite. So I did have an old favorite called the MC Cthulhu, and it was made in Idaho, so there's that little extra pride there. And I always advocated that thing for a really long time. I really liked it. But when I did the comparison tests, the Brooks board was faster. So now I've got to kind of say, well, the Brooks board is the big one. It comes with a big old price tag on it, though. I'm not going to lie. This Brooks Universal board is $90. So this is why I wanted to give you this guide, because you could spend $300 on a brand new PS4 stick, for instance, or a brand new Nintendo Switch stick. They're $200 to $300, right? And you're then locked into that console. And then if you want to play on 360, or you want to play on Xbox later down the line, or you want to play on a certain configuration for your PC, which can happen, you know what I mean, or you can play on a Switch or a PS4. If you buy a dedicated stick to one of those at a premium price, you are missing the opportunity to take that $200, spend the $100 of it on a solid case plus buttons and lever, like this, and then spend the other 100 on the Brooks Universal board. So now all of a sudden for that same 200, you can connect to all the consoles, have the lowest input lag, have a solid case, have great buttons, and then for an extra 20 swap in whatever you want. Or if you can keep this pretty good lever for, the same price as, in all honesty too, the PS4 sticks and the Nintendo Switch Hori sticks have the same parts as these. The buttons might be a little bit better, like barely, but you can always swap out the buttons. And then the lever might be a tiny bit better, but you can swap out the lever down the line. And it's not, I don't think it's justifiable, that extra $100. So that's my recommendation for a great way to get started. If you want the whole enchilada, get an old, a Hori Wrap 4, Wrap 3, PS 360 or PS3 stick. Try and find one in good condition with good buttons and everything. And then throw in the Brooks Universal board inside it, and you're all set. You can play everything, connect to everything. However, I also wanted to mention this arcade stick. This beauty right here. So this is the Hori 360 version rather than the PS3 version. So these are more desirable than the PS3 sticks because they have X input and they connect to an Xbox 360. I think time has shown that the Xbox 360 is the more desirable arcade system, the arcade game system, than the PS3. So an Xbox 360 stick by its nature is more valuable than a PS3 stick, at least in my opinion. So for Shmuppers especially, with all the amazing 360 ports, this is something to keep your eye on. So basically, if you're looking for an arcade stick for PC and Xbox 360 and you don't really care about PS4, which I kind of feel like you should because the M2 ports, but if you just only care about 360 and PC, get this stick because it's the best. It has great internals. They're the same lag as the Brooks internals, so it's going to be the most responsive 360 PC stick you can find. And then the buttons on it are pretty great. That green button's the one that I still have on this board here. I have one of these, by the way. And then the lever needs to go, honestly, but that's a $20 switch. Plus, you're going to want to change the lever out anyway. I don't think people should stick with stock levers ever. I think they should always have like a little library of levers they play and get the feel of and then choose which one's their favorite, to be honest. Or, sometimes you want to throw in your Sanwa, throw in your Korean lever, whatever. So I don't think the lever's really that important. And then, yeah, it's an amazing stick. It actually has turbo, too, which is, really great for shmups, especially in RetroArch and stuff sometimes. So that's my recommendation. So if you're wanting just a 360 PC stick, get this stick right here. This is what you're looking for. If you're looking for a PS4 stick, I would say get an old PS3 stick and put this board inside it, because the PS4 is going the way of the dodo and you're kind of throwing your money at a dead end. Whereas this thing, I'm sure, is going to, it connects to the Switch, connects to PC, connects to 360, connects to Xboxes, and I'm sure it will connect to the PS5 unless Brooks is nasty little boys and they make you buy some kind of special board, but I don't think they'll do that. They'll just put a firmware upgrade in there. And if all else fails, this thing can connect to the Switch too, which is nice. So those are my recommendations for getting started. Again, I don't think that buying the pieces from scratch is actually that economical. It's usually more expensive than just buying a stick, especially a used stick. Oh, wait, before I go, there's some things I want to warn you away from. So the Mayflashes, don't touch those. Another brand of stick that there's two other brands of stick that I kind of have I won't personally buy them policy towards, but I don't flat out say they're bad buys either. Razor sticks, I am extremely skeptical of any Razor stick that ever exists, strictly because that year Evo, remember the Team Razor? All their sticks failed in one of the Evos. It was like Shen or there's like 3 different players on Team Razor. All their sticks failed. It cost them matches, and then they had to play out the finals on Hori sticks because TE2s and stuff because their razor sticks all failed. That's kind of scary to me. I just kind of feel like maybe they've improved since then, but that kind of was like, okay, I'm not buying razor sticks after that. And then the other one I have to caution you is the Kamba sticks. So I know they're extremely popular, and they are well-made sticks, and I do feel that they are quality buys and stuff like that. The only issue with them is their internals kind of scare me because I've had friends, many, like 3 or 4 friends, who've had multiple instances of Kamba sticks failing and failing. The Kamba was cool enough to send them replacements, but I think there's like something wrong with the internals if you're having sticks, fail one after another, one after another. Of course, you could always swap out the internals with a Brooks or whatever. But, yeah, so if you want to do that, I guess that's fine. But I personally always recommend the Hori sticks because, like I said, they're just reliable, well-made, solidly built, easily customizable. So I always recommend those. I know they're not as flashy, though, as some of the Kamba sticks. I know people like those. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. That's basically it. So that's part 1. Part 2, I'll start talking more in depth about the different parts and spring tensions and all that kind of good stuff. So thanks for watching. Also, before I go, I'd like to thank my patrons: Dingo, Anthony A., Ben Wynn, Brian Shiver, Double Vision, Deps20XX, Dunpeel 2064, EC2151, Full Set, Retro Shmupper, Gus, Kiwi, Jacob Spring, Jake Ryan, Joe Angelo, John, K, Quentin, the man of the video, Mark Sloan, Maz, Nathaniel Davis, N Electron, Okla Kugels, Omkal, Rhizosis, Sugumo, Young Money Sui, Plasmo, and Utakaya. Thanks for watching.